teachers across the nation and has never had that. And they said that they were there in February and didn't have an interview. Okay, are we ready, everybody? Yes.
All right. Congrats. That's terrific.
All right.
I wasn't with the board today.
Board of Education meeting is called to order. Please stand for the Pledge of
Union
Allegiance.
leadership. Dressing room. Nothing. We were just chit-chatting. It was conversational. Like, what do you think about cell phones? What do you think about things that are disruptive at school?
All right, Secretary Ristich, will you please take roll call?
President Wagner, all members are present.
All right. Approval of the agenda. Unless there are objections, the agenda will be approved as printed. Are we good? All right. We will now take public comment. Is there anyone here that would like to speak prior to starting our superintendent interviews? Are we good? All right. Well, we will now move to the superintendent interviews and invite our first candidate, Mr. Adam Martin. I'd also like, before he comes in, to let everyone know, if you'd like to fill out the feedback forms, please get those filled out. And then what you'll do is after the interview is over, you will give your feedback forms to Megan when she comes in so that she can make copies for us. And we'll remind you at the end as well.
Good to see you again.
Welcome back.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it. We all survived the storm, I see.
Yes, yes.
Yes.
Welcome
Man.
back.
Welcome back.
Thank you for having me.
And we'd also
Thank
like
you.
to welcome everyone that did come tonight.
Yes, thank you.
So much. We appreciate having all of our community members here, and we do know that people are are watching live as well. All right, now we will proceed to our interview of Mr. Adam Martin. Welcome, and thank you so much for being with us again today.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm going to get my clock running because
Okay,
last
I'll go
time I
ahead and let you
forgot,
do that.
remember?
And then just let me know when you're ready, and I can do the prop for the presentation.
I'm good if you're good.
All right, so the presentation prompt was, how has your work as an administrator grown and increased student achievement?
So before we begin, my wife is here, Brianne, hello. And I just want to say thank you to the leadership team for meeting with me today, the union leadership and the community as well. It was a great opportunity to learn more about Waterford. So what I prepared for you was 3 data points that represent the impact that I've had on student achievement. The first one, and I spoke about this last Tuesday, actually, at the same exact time, was from Stevenson Middle School. I was the principal there for 4 years. I talked to you guys about being a focus school my first year there, and then the growth that we had. So each of the data points I'm going to talk through, but then really talk about the actions that got me there. Data is one thing, but the actions and the work I think is more important and representative of the work that I do. On the left there is the demographic data, almost 90% at risk, 37% African American, 13% special education, close to some of your middle schools that you have, so pretty representative. On the right there is our top to bottom ranking. My first year there we were 7, in 13-14 we were 12, and then in 14-15 we jumped up to 25. Sadly, the state assessment changed into my 4th year, so we didn't have data for it, but I felt really confident and feel really confident that it would have continued to climb. So in terms of some of the actions that we took to get there, first and foremost was developing our foundations classes in language arts and math. So over the course of our first year, we were able to identify our bottom 30% of students who were struggling, and in conversations realized that in order to close the gap for those students, they needed a double dip. They needed some extra time to teach those prerequisite skills. We were able to identify 2 super talented teachers who developed an individualized approach to learning for those students, and this class replaced one of their electives. when students showed growth on NWEA, I know you guys are an NWEA district as well, when students showed growth, they slid out of their, or back into the elective class that they were removed from. I think it's really important that students have elective opportunities, but I would say they have to be reading and doing math on grade level 2. That's our priority. Another thing that we did was really focused our core instruction on standards. What is it that we want to be teaching? How is it that we're going to assess it? And we provided professional development on the different learning styles that all of our students had. The goal here was really leveraging our content team, so 7th grade language arts teachers or 8th grade social studies teachers, to really dial in on, hey, when I give instruction, what is it that I want kids to learn and how am I going to know that they learned it? At the same time, like I said, we provided PD on individualized instruction, differentiation, what are different modalities that kids like to learn to hopefully help engage middle school students in that core instruction. Collaboration through learning teams. So I talked about content teams. Another thing that we did was we built grade level teams. So our grade level teams were 5 teachers, 4 core teachers, and a 5th elective teacher who all shared the same 120 to 150 students. The reason we did this is because we reimagined our advisory time. So advisory at the middle school was every day for about 30 minutes. Our grade level teams were responsible for designing a week's worth of content basically for students. One of the days would be Leader in Me lessons. One of the days was reading. We recognized in our data that students struggled with reading comprehension. So we purchased a software, it was Star Reading at the time, to help with that. And then what they were also doing during advisory is they were trading students based off of the assessments that they were running in their class. So for example, if I was a social studies teacher and I was on a team with 4 other people, on Wednesday I recognized that 4 of my kids struggled with whatever it would be, I don't know. I would coordinate with you to be able to have those 4 students during advisory come to me so that way I can give them a double dip or another learning opportunity for that. So that's why we developed those grade level teams. On the other side, we created acceleration classes in language arts and math for our kids that needed that extra engagement, needed that push. And then the thing I'm most proud about is when we did our Leader in Me training, our 7 Habits training, I talked about that before, we had 100% of our staff that attended. That for me was proof of my ability to bring a team together and galvanize them around a common cause. So that's one data set. The next data set that I'm really proud of is our graduation rates in Dearborn. This past year, 2024, we graduated 94.5% of our students. We have a large EL and large at-risk population. What I'm most impressed about is our dropout rate is less than 2%. So the actions that we have specific for our graduation rate, and I know graduation rate, increasing language arts and increasing math are school improvement goals for Waterford. We have dedicated staff to help with that. We have a graduation specialist who is at one at each of our high schools. We also have 9th grade lead teachers. Both of them work in concert to best support students and try to problem solve and also maximize the different supports that we have at the high school for them. Our 9th grade lead teachers work just with 9th grade. There's a lot of research out there about if you can get 9th graders through 9th grade with their full credits, they will graduate on time. So we really push theirs, supporting the affective, social, emotional. And then in 10th, 11th, and 12th grade, our graduation specialists really pick up students from there. Any student that's struggling with grades, struggling with failures, they work with them, trying to support them, and trying to innovate on our end in terms of creating programs that can best support them. So 3 or 4 of the programs that I want to talk about is our credit recovery program. That runs each semester in summer school. That provides students opportunities to make up credit. We also have a dropout recovery program through Graduation Alliance that's at our alternative high school. That's an asynchronous program that provides tutoring for students that are behind in credits and maybe just can't get to school. We do have some students that need to work and have other things or have anxiety. And then we also have our virtual K-12. So an outgrowth of COVID-19 was the development of our virtual program. This program, even though it was designed, has really been used for our graduation specialists for some students that need it. So kind of those 4 programs were really developed out of a need and innovation in the 4 or so years that I've been overseeing graduation specialists. We also explore Michigan Department of Education and the Michigan Merit Curriculum Compliance and Flexibility. There's a ton of flexibility at the high school level in terms of credits and offerings and seat time and some other pieces. So really pushing on each other as a group in terms of how do we best support students, what flexibility do we have, and how do we leverage that in order to make sure that kids are graduating on time. And last but certainly not least is the continued professional development and calibration. Always learning, always spending time together, making sure we're bringing ideas to the forefront. In terms of the macro leadership learnings that I pulled from these that I apply and will apply as superintendent of Waterford, here are just a few. Identifying and empowering talent. My job is not to figure everything out. My job is to identify talent and allow talent to innovate within the certain constraints. They're able to build things better than I could ever vision out. Innovating within the current resources that we have. We talked before about sustainability. All the work that we did at Stevenson cost us zero, net zero. We use the existing time, the existing staff. We just thought through it differently, and we're trying to do what's best for kids. Supportive accountability within those groups. Tell me what you want to do, and I'm going to hold you to what you say you're going to get to. Developing systems, collaboration, and the last 3 I think are the most important. Being comfortable with failure. Failure often reveals solutions, but you got to be looking for failure and looking for the solution in the failure. Being really clear about what your focus is or your due north is. Oftentimes when you have problems, it's because you're not on the same page in terms of what you're trying to accomplish. So being really crystal clear about what the goal is. And then culture is everything, and that's built from your interactions, how you communicate, your transparency. Really, it's everything. The culture sets the stage for all of these things. The last data point that I wanted to put on here is one that we're super proud of in Dearborn. It's our dual enrollment. If you look at it, 4,000 students took over 8,000 classes. That represents over $4 million. I like this because it validates our graduation rate. Our students are successful in college. And I also would like to say many of those leadership learnings have been applied here as we're continually to innovate within those programs. And we have 3 programs to provide kids opportunity for career-focused and career-aligned coursework at our local community college. So just three achievement points that I'm pretty proud of. I have a lot to do, but wanted to share those with you. So thank you.
Thank you so much for the presentation.
You're welcome.
All right, well now all board members will ask questions similar to last time in our round robin. I will now turn the mic over to Trustee McGregor for the next question.
Please tell us about your experiences with early childhood centers and any specific work you've done with early childhood programming.
Yeah, so again, I'm going to give you guys accolades. The Stepanski Center and the work you guys have done there is incredible. In looking into Waterford again, being able to identify the way that you've developed programs to support kids from as early as 2 and 3 and then bring them through your GSRP to transition them into kindergarten aligns with a lot of the things that philosophically I support and things that are happening in the district that I'm currently at. As executive director, I collaborate with our executive leadership team that also oversees an early childhood center similar to yours. We have 38 classrooms offered across our district. We also offer many of those on our sites in our elementary schools based off of availability. Our small class sizes support through the High Scopes curriculum, which is similar to what you guys run. And we have a Young Fives program, which is really, it's just like your junior kindergarten program. So everything that I'm familiar with are things that you guys are already doing. My role in supporting my buildings and my building administrators is really to best support them with the students that they have and the students that are coming in. So when I talk about that, I'm talking about the GSRP programs that are running within their buildings and the Young Five programs that are running in their buildings. Making sure that we're correctly identifying and supporting getting students into those programs, that we're fully staffing it, that we're providing professional development. Two things that I have experienced that I think bring a lot of value to the early childhood approach where I currently am is our GSRP runs full days Monday through Thursday. On Fridays, we offer professional development, but we also leverage that Friday once a month to provide a parent university to be able to connect with parents and help them along the early childhood continuum. Another thing that we do is are developing an early learning coalition. This is a partnership with our early childhood along with community partners, city, private preschools, and the goal here is to run monthly opportunities just for parents to be able to press in and get resources, get support. At the same time, it provides us some touch points for families that may eventually be with us. So a lot of what you guys are offering, I'm familiar with in terms of what Dearborn is and support those within my building. I want to go back to a personal story. My son, my oldest son, who has an IEP, I talked about him before, has a seizure disorder. Thankfully, my wife pushed me to, hey, we need to get him in preschool. And when we got him there, about 6 or 8 weeks in, she has a better memory of this than I, they were like, hey, we're seeing some concerns here. Long story short, he was identified early on as having a developmental delay. I talked before about having educators next to him to help him be successful. Early identification and support for him, I'm going to tell you, was absolutely pivotal in his long-term success for education. So in terms of early childhood, I have a personal connection. Philosophically, I would love to be able to take all kids and have us funded from the age of 2 on. But that's not the way it is. How do we best support them with the resources we have, and how do we continue to grow students to gain the maturity and, I guess, academics to be successful kindergartners, and at the same time partner with families and parents?
Our organization operates 2 center-based programs, Kingsley, Montgomery, and an adjudicated youth program called Children's Village. What experience do you have working with intermediate school districts and similar youth education programs?
Yeah, so as executive director, I'm collaboratively involved in all the different programs throughout our district, and some of them housed in buildings, some of them not housed in buildings. In terms of Kingsley Montgomery, our current district, or the current district I'm in, offers a similar center-based program. We serve SCI, SXI, and ASD students. The goal really there, and the goal for all of our students, frankly, is least restrictive and most supportive environment, right? So how do we maximize the resources, continue to grow, and continue to meet kids and families with where they're at? I mentioned last Tuesday, the Michigan Department of Education recognized Dearborn, the district I'm in, for being a model in terms of least restrictive environment. And we have around a $30 million budget from Act 18, center-based, and around 50 total rooms throughout the district that are pre-K to post-high school that we run. In terms of the schools that I specifically support, we have center-based classrooms in many of the schools that I support. We don't necessarily have a director layer in between students and families and myself. So oftentimes I'm working with administrators trying to problem solve, trying to best support students who are in those center programs to maximize resources again, wrap around our services, and really think through how do we create the least restrictive environment for all of those students. At the same time, we collaboratively work on that Act 18 budgeting in terms of providing behavior coordinators and supports and resources as the best way possible. As a building principal in both of my principalships, I oversaw center-based programs in my building. My goal was those are my kids, and I actually expanded in both of my principalships, bringing more center-based programs in there. I take it as a point of pride that Waterford is given this opportunity to do this for the county. I think it's a testament to the work that you do. In terms of the Children's Village program, again, tremendous that Waterford's able to provide that support to students. My understanding is Waterford provides the educational learning for those students. As building principal at the high school level and the middle school level, I had students coming back to me from adjudicated programs, and I had students that were, hey, this is the next step, right? What I learned in all of those was you need to really dig into the supports that students are needing and really try to learn about their story and the context to be able to best support them. From an instructional lens at Children's Village specifically, providing students content specific for whatever course it is, and then being able to ensure that academically they're moving themselves forward, I think is incredibly important. One thing I want to talk about from the Children's Village program is a little bit of regret in terms of, are there things we could have done at earlier age, at early childhood, at elementary, for some of these students that maybe could have had an impact where their outcome might have been different. Certainly the adjudicated program for some of our students isn't their fault, foster and some other things. But there are some students who find their way there, and I can't help but think through if the school could have done something different in terms of restorative practices or the affective range or some other supports. Could the outcome have been different? What about Parent University and supporting parents in a different way? So I really think the goal of Kingsley and Montgomery and Children's Village are two incredible programs that I would be proud to have Waterford running and would be completely behind. It's our job to educate all kids. All means all. Whoever they are, we will find a way and we'll move them forward.
Thank you so much. If you would, please, could you tell us about a time when you were confronted with a difficult, unexpected set of circumstances for which you lacked the answers? How did you deal with those circumstances?
So I'm going to talk about my second year as an executive director. In looking at graduation and commencement, our previous policy was you need 23 credits to graduate, but you can walk and participate at commencement if you only have 22. What we were starting to see was a growing number of students who needed summer school to make up the credits, and a growing number of students who, once they participated in commencement, weren't coming back and completing the classes, which posed a problem for them. They didn't have their diploma to start whatever it was in the fall. So we collaboratively as a group, graduation specialists who I talked about before and high school principals, started looking at, okay, what could be a potential solution here? And where we landed was increasing, or simply saying, if 23 credits are what you need to graduate, 23 credits are what you need to walk. At the same time, though, being supportive of all students, we did have some students and do have some students who transfer to us who cannot get through those 23 credits in the time allotted. We have some students who come to us from overseas in their last year. So providing building principal flexibility was really important. We did a very good job, I thought, of ensuring that we were communicating to the public. We ran it by the board, got board approval, and everything was going great until we implemented our first year. And then at a board meeting, we had a large contingency of community members who were pretty upset. And they were upset because, not because of the guideline change. They were upset because we didn't calibrate the implementation of that flexibility. So some principals were providing flexibility that other principals weren't. So the difficult circumstance was ultimately that was my responsibility. I didn't have all the answers. When I spoke with the building principals, they were able to make rational reasons why they made the decisions that they did, which I supported. But because each building didn't implement it correctly, it gave us a lack of credibility. What we ended up doing is validating those concerns. We had a lot of empathy, took a lot of feedback, and where we ended is that group now meets regularly to talk about what the flexibility looks like to make sure that it's equitable for all of our students at the high school. What grieves me the most about that is had we gotten together, there would have been kids who could have participated in commencement that didn't get to. So we own that. I owned that. It was ultimately my role, but where we landed was in a much better place in terms of consistency around that level of flexibility. You're welcome.
What challenges do you anticipate for public education in the next 5 years, and how will you address those challenges?
So I chose only five. I think first and foremost, the two are kind of hand in hand, the uncertainty regarding funding. My role would be to advocate as best I can with our local, state, and federal legislators in terms of having a sustained funding model for public education, an industry that has been grossly underfunded for years. So continuing to push into that, which I spoke about a little bit last Tuesday. Also, I would say looking for and maximizing different opportunities, whether it's grants or private funding, to be able to come in and help with sustainability of programs or creating new programs. And then lastly, being fiscally responsible as best as possible, right? Being able to look at, hey, where are we at this year, but where are we thinking things are going to be in 3 years, and making decisions off of kind of a projection going forward. Are responsibilities that I would take very seriously. Finances is an extremely important role for the superintendent. Right along with that is population, shrinking population, and that's happening across the country and in the state of Michigan, and is tied directly to kind of the resources, right? So again, going back to being responsible, trying to be really thoughtful in the decision making for today, but also, years from now. The other side in Dearborn, we also have started to lose students as well. We've started to think about what programs can we offer that can capture back some of the students that we have lost. I spoke before about our virtual K-12 school. We have around 500 total students there. 450 or so are secondary students. If we did not have that virtual K-12, we would have lost those 450 students. And we're providing students a very good learning opportunity. So it would be, for me, kind of looking through where are some of our students going? How can we capture some of them back? Are there programs that would actually help? I talked about the virtual K-12. It's actually helping our high school students who are struggling, can't be in buildings sometimes. Like, are there programs that can accomplish two things? And I would say some of my leadership wins have been knowing a little bit about a lot of things, so that way when you're able to innovate, you're able to connect and win in other places as well. The National Assessment of Education Progress, the NAEP, it's the nation's report card. You guys have seen the data. Low scores in math and language arts, especially for our struggling students. So really pressing into improving Tier 1 instruction, making sure it's engaging, and at the same time creating systems of supports for those students who are struggling. I spoke before about the secondary acceleration model. I spoke about at Stevenson what we did there. So really pressing into, if you have the kids between 8 and 3 o'clock, how do you maximize that time to best connect them and ensure that they are proficient on those state standards? Mental health for staff and students, I'm going to say it's both. Developing supports in the building for students, developing district support for staff members. From a student perspective, making sure that mental health is a part of our core instructional programming, and then reaching out to community partners to be able to have supports for students, have support for teachers. We screen our students for mental health in Dearborn. I don't know if that's something that Waterford does, but it at least gives us a touch point in terms of being able to best support students. And lastly is artificial intelligence. It's coming faster than I think any of us thought it would, but really thinking through how do we leverage artificial intelligence? How do we leverage it to improve teaching and learning, improve productivity, but also how are we preparing our students so when they leave us, they know how to use it appropriately, and they know how not to use it, so that way wherever they end up, they can be successful. So those are 5 challenges that I think in the next 5 years we're going to be seeing and hearing more of.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
How do you lead and grow leaders?
So leading and growing is an extremely important piece of any school district, right? You want to grow from within, from bottom up, and even from people that are at the leadership or executive level. You want to grow them as well. In my current district, we run an aspiring administrator program. This is for teachers who are interested in administration. They come together once a month in a cohort, and we provide opportunities for them to hear from current seated administrators about what the role is. And also district leadership is able to share there as well. The aspiring administrators participate in a shadow day with a building administrator, and we also ask them to take on a capstone project, a leadership role within their building where they're taking on an initiative, developing it out, building it, and then reflecting on it at the end. So really designing a program for just that, growing leaders internally. I oversee the Galileo Teacher Leader Program. I don't know if you guys are familiar with it, but their motto is lead from whatever seat you're in. We have 4 teachers that participate in that. Many of those teachers have eventually became building principals, district level leadership, and have gone on to have pretty tremendous careers. We provide professional development at our monthly meetings for building administrators as well, sometimes giving them the opportunity to share with their fellow administrators. I try in the different groups that I work with. I talked before about the Fordson feeder. I have 11 administrators, high school principals, high school counselors, graduation specialists, really trying a shared learning leadership approach, allowing them to take leadership and ownership of what it is that they're developing, talk them through what the process and system is. And while they may not be leading from, like in my role, they are getting experience in terms of leading others through that work. I serve as a mentor to district leaders, and I would do that here as well. Being a thought partner to our building administrators, a thought partner to our leadership team in terms of how can we be better, how can we do better, how do we grow. And these are all things that I would take and apply for the leadership team that I have, and then would ask our leadership team to be applying them to building administrators and then also teachers as well.
How have you supported or expanded extracurricular opportunities in your previous educational roles?
Yeah, I've done this pretty much everywhere. Let me just say, I played sports, I played the trumpet, I coached. My kids are in a lot of things. My experience is extracurriculars for some of our kids, actually for a lot of our kids, are the one thing that they find success in school. It's the one thing they enjoy. It's their hope. And for some of them, it's the hook, right? Being a part of a team or a club. So it's super important that you have a well-balanced approach to extracurriculars. I think it's also super important as you're considering, hey, we don't have the resources or funds to do this, that you're being really thoughtful. It may be the one thing that kid is looking forward to when they come to school for the time being, right? When I was at the middle school, we brought in a GE Ignite program that was a partnership with General Electric. Professionals came in once a month with a group of students. We had about 25 students, and we're presenting a curriculum that was STEM-based, really get them to problem solving and doing some different things. The best part was watching the engineers from GE and some others just teach, right, and learn about teaching and the ins and outs of it. During COVID, and I was happy to hear in my session with your leadership team, we started an esports program. The goal there was to create an opportunity for kids to connect with each other. Smash Brothers was their big favorite, and they did a pretty good job with it. I also oversaw creating a robotics lab at the high school I was a principal over. When I got there, it was a shared space. We were able to move things around, and one of my priorities was to make sure that the robotics had a dedicated space. By building the dedicated space, we actually were able to offer robotics 1 and 2 during the school year as well for classes. So again, when I talked before about, hey, what are things we need? How do you know all these things? So that way when you're making decisions, you're able to accomplish more than one thing. We also at Dearborn High reimagined our weight room and our approach to weight training there, which impacted athletics, but I'm going to tell you it impacted our student population in general. Physical health is extremely important. Prior to this, it was mostly football players that were in our weight room. I wasn't okay with this, and what we set out to do was reimagine our weight training to really position students so that when they walk into a Lifetime or a Planet Fitness or a yoga studio, that they feel comfortable seeing the things that they've seen. So when we moved the robotics out, we were able to redo it there. We offer CrossFit, we offer cycling, we offer speed and agility, and we still offer weight training. But we offer it to a much wider range of students who are benefiting from it in high school, and I know they will post-high school. In band, we had students that struggled within their master schedule to be able to fit band in, so we opened up a 0 hour for jazz band to give them that opportunity. And then lastly, we have a community organization that gained a grant recently to increase elementary children physical education and physical activity. So this last year at our elementary, it's pretty cool. In the winter, 3rd, 4th, and 5th grade boys and girls, we had elementary basketball teams, and they were competing against each other. It was incredible watching 3rd and 4th graders at their school wearing their team jersey and having school spirit. Now we have that going on for soccer. So these are a few of the different things that I've been a part of or have overseen in my multiple roles that I've had.
If you could bring one thing from your current or previous districts to Waterford, what would that be?
So let me preface this by saying this isn't like Waterford is doing something bad, right? Or we have to do this. It's just something that I think is unique to Dearborn. I don't know if you are or aren't doing it that I wanted to share. And actually I had one answer to this, but I redid it today based off of my experience this morning. So Dearborn builds in school improvement visits. So the way this works is at the beginning of the year, all of our buildings present, hey, here's a data picture of what our school is at a real superficial level. Here's our achievement, here's our attendance, here's our discipline. And then here are the things we're focusing on this school year. That usually happens in September and October. From there, all of our building administrators, our leadership team on the instructional side and the leadership team at the district on non-instructional time, sets in our schedule, actually they sign up for unannounced visits into all of our buildings. When we go into those buildings, we're there for about 75 minutes. And our teams are sometimes 4 people, sometimes 7 people. We're looking at the focus areas that the buildings have identified themselves and are just walking the classrooms to try to check in on them. This isn't a gotcha thing. Really, it's an opportunity for us to be in buildings, be around kids. We get to talk to kids in a way that we may not necessarily do. It's a built-in time to be able to do that. We get to interact with teachers as well. So we spend about 75 minutes there and then provide feedback to the building administrator. The building administrator is able to take that as a data set, right? How are we doing toward these focus areas? From a district perspective, at the highest level, we're able to see, hey, what are things looking like in the building? Our 4 areas that we ask them to focus on is core instruction, student engagement, culture of the building, and then student safety. You're able to get a glimpse kind of at a superficial level of how these things are going and where things are going. The best part of it, though, is because we have building principals that are in on these visits, they're able to spend time in other leaders' buildings and start having organic conversations about, hey, I saw the kid leave class, he just grabbed a lanyard and went to the bathroom and then came back. Talk me through what your process is, right? Or when somebody comes and they buzz in, you have somebody that comes and welcomes them and brings them in or whatever it would be. So it's all of these little things that comprise the totality of building leadership that our building principals are able to explore and grow. And from my end, that's something that I think is unique to Dearborn. I didn't see it in my previous district, but has brought us a lot of value and has given the leadership team and non-instructional leadership an opportunity to be in building and working with teachers and students. You're welcome.
All right, as we wrap things up, is there anything that you would like to ask us?
So I do have 3 questions. Is that okay? Question number one. What is important to you in terms of communication and what methods are preferred?
Is there anyone in particular that would like to take that question? All right, Member Torres?
Repeat that again, so I have it correctly.
No, you're okay. What's important to you in terms of communication and what methods are preferred?
So I think for communication, really, I look at the idea as a school board trustee is no surprises, that you're communicating not only to our board president and following the processes that are in place, but also assuring that the whole board is informed. I think as a board, we succeed better when we are together and cohesive. So I think when you're including all board members and communicating to them, in a clear, honest way, I think that's key. And I would say the means of communication, it can be in any means, really. I think in today's day and age, we're texting, we're emailing, we're seeing each other at an event, those kinds of things. So I think, at your level with your executive leadership and then being in a superintendent position that you probably have effective ways that you communicate. But I think the best thing is to make sure that, there's no favorites, on a board per se, and that, there are times when you're going to go right to the board chair and they're going to communicate that to the board expeditiously, but other times where you might need to communicate directly with somebody, but just making sure that the board is completely aware so that we're all working cohesively together.
Okay, thank you.
All right,
Next question?
Yes.
Yeah. How would you communicate feedback for me over the course of the year? So what would that look like?
Would you like to take that, Member Ristich?
Sure.
All right.
So as a board, really since 2020, for obvious reasons, we had a new superintendent there. We had, things got complicated in 2020. I don't know if you're aware of that.
I was aware. Yes.
But since then, we've really leaned into the superintendent evaluation process. That's something that this board takes very seriously, both our goal setting moment earlier in the year, our quarterly check-ins. Megan Roberts is indispensable in this process in keeping us focused on the task at hand. So we have quote-unquote informal check-ins where we take up the goals that we set with the superintendent, which relate to our strategic plan, and we have an informal conversation about our progress towards those goals. Mid-year, we have a more formal approach because we want to make sure that we're meeting those goals. Yeah. And so through this iterative cycle of feedback and work on the superintendent's behalf, or the superintendent's effort, we've, I think, developed a really dynamic relationship that has allowed us to really focus and stay laser focused on our strategic plans, the goals that are developed from the superintendent, the administrative team, and again, it keeps us focused. And so that superintendent evaluation cycle has been really indispensable for us.
Okay.
And I would imagine for the superintendent as well.
For sure. Absolutely. Thank you. Last one. What is the biggest point of pride for Waterford, and then the greatest opportunity for innovation or finding solutions that you foresee?
I'm going to take a piece of this, and then I will see if anyone else would like to take a piece of this. I am losing my voice, so you'll have to bear with me. The biggest point of pride, I think, for all of us, or for me as a parent and as a graduate of this district, is simply that Waterford is an amazing place. We have a lot of pride in our staff and in our families and in our community. And I think that is something isn't really replicated in other places. We really have a phenomenal community, and we really have a phenomenal district. And it's just being able to get that pride out there. What you will find in Waterford is people don't leave. We tend to stick around here. We might leave for a little bit, but we always come back. There is something very unique about this community, and I do think that we are a very prideful community, and we get behind our community has always been very supportive of our district. We have successfully passed numerous bonds, and I think that is a huge point in proving how prideful our community is of our schools and of where we are.
A lot of what Kristen said, I agree with, and I think biggest point of pride are our students. And, you know, we look at education and we want students to graduate from our schools to be good citizens of the world. You know, and we have the capabilities of doing that here in this district. But it's more than just the idea, it's how do we get there from, you know, starting over at Stepanski all the way through graduating from Monarch. I really value, as a point of pride, our students, and that when our students do graduate, that they go on to whatever it is that, you know, they want to do to achieve their dreams, whether it's college, you know, whether it's trade school, you know, whether it's take a gap year or what have you. We have an amazing amount of students we have students that have gone on to Harvard. We had a student a few years ago got a dual acceptance. He got accepted into Stanford or Harvard. He had to choose which one he was going to go to. So it's really amazing. And I think, secondly, I look for a superintendent that's really gonna push with our team to bring those points of pride to the forefront. Because, you know, over the years we've taken some hits to our reputation, and we want to really make sure that people are aware of the innovations of the Stepanski centers and the great things the kids are doing at Mott, at Kettering, at Pierce, and Mason. But we really want to make sure that we broadcast that. And to me, it's not bragging. It's us telling people, you know, we want you to come here. We want you to be part of this. And I think I look for that in a superintendent to really focus on that and get that message out to the greater community outside of Waterford, and particularly, you know, some of our neighboring districts, so we're not losing our students to those districts. And I think we've come to a point at where I'm at in this district, and having raised my family here, living here 23 years now, that we've come to a point where we have a lot of accolades. We can compete with the best of them.
Agreed.
And I want our superintendent to be able to really display that to the community.
Anyone else like to add to that? Sure.
As a senior person here, I believe, last, I don't know, 50, 60 years, since 66, I had family on the board, and I used to talk to him about the different things, and there was always that people would talk bad about Waterford. I didn't care. It was my community, it was our community. Keep them out. I don't, you know, they want to talk bad, let them be over there. When I'd gotten on the board, we had some community support, some older people that were here in the 40s and 50s that started it out, Mrs. Anderson, Judge Anderson's wife. And to hear her talk of Waterford, I get chills every time I think about it. I was at a charity event somewhere, and she had a booming voice. And she's, you know, this and that, and just very excited. And people referred to Waterford as Watertucky. And she would, you know, add to that, said, I would be so proud to be, you know, part of the great state of Kentucky, and to compare Waterford to that is just so magnificent. Take what people are putting bad and turn it into what is good. It is our community. Yeah. People say, well, you know, everybody knows their neighbors. What's wrong with that?
Right.
If my son was to go down and try to buy a pack of cigarettes at the store, I know the store owner. He says, hey, Rob, what was your son doing here? Doing, you know, something along them lines.
Right.
That's the true gem of Waterford that people don't get. And again, I try to keep it quiet for as long as I could, and then I realized, geez, there is this internet thing, and it doesn't look good all the time. But I'm very proud of my community. I'm very, very excited for it. And again, the people are second to none, other than I've never known another community. But I know this one's good.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Anyone else like to add? I'm going to pass it down.
So as a graduate of Waterford Schools, one of the things that had the biggest, most lasting impact for me was honestly the teachers. I had amazing teachers, and I'm very grateful to have had them. And I think that it represents our community in a lot of ways. We had some really amazing people, and we still do. But I think that's also one of the things that, like most districts, we need to work on making sure that we're taking care of our staff. And it's hard because we've lost students like everywhere else has, and we need to find ways to get that funding. But I think at the end of the day, you know, we all come together, and that's one of the things that's really great about the Waterford that I know. Everybody, when things get tough, people come together, and that's important.
Awesome. Thank you.
Well, I think, do you have any other questions? You still have maybe a minute. All right, great.
not.
Well, we appreciate your interest in our superintendent position. Thank you so much for coming this evening. Oh, yes, that is true. So we still have about a couple minutes? Oh, okay, I wasn't sure if we had plenty of time, so, because I have been watching my clock too. So is there anything that anyone here, remember we've got probably enough time for maybe 2 follow-up questions? Okay, is there anything specific that anyone here would like to hear more about? I'll give my board members a chance to look it over. Member Torres?
You talked, where was it? It was intriguing, and I wanted to know more about the program that you did with the early on parents at the preschool you were talking about, the GRSP.
The Parent
Yeah,
University.
the Parent University.
Yeah.
Could you talk more on that?
Yeah, so that really is a program where we invite parents in and are really teaching a parenting class, right? How can they support early childhood at home? How can we provide them supports? And it's something that we had an affective person that was overseeing that in the district, and now we're using GSRP to do that. So really it's an opportunity to get in front of parents to help educate them in terms of what their kids are seeing, but also educate them in how to be a home partner to best support early childhood learning. And our GSRP early childhood staff are the ones that generates and runs that. Yeah.
And a quick addition to that, this will be part of question 1.
Yeah.
Because we'll also have time for,
Yeah.
you had mentioned that you reached out to other preschools, other programs that weren't technically part of the Dearborn School District, but you knew it was touch points.
Yeah.
Did you find that those different buildings or those different preschool programs or childcare centers within Dearborn, were they receptive to that as well? And did you feel that it increased your enrollment because you were able to do that so early on to have those touch points with those families?
Yeah, so the Early Learning Coalition is pretty early on. It's something that's new, so we don't necessarily have a data point to that. And it's been mixed. Some have and some haven't, just because there's a competitive piece there. But we want to cast a broad net as possible and really focus on how to create those relationships, and then how do we best support parents ultimately. Kids may or may not be with us, but we have a responsibility too, if we can create an opportunity that's going to be in the best interest of the student to do that.
All right, thank you.
You're welcome.
Is there anyone else that would like another follow-up or felt that they needed more information other than what was given? John Paul has one more.
So what is your plan to retain good quality teachers here in the district?
That's a tough one. So I think first and foremost, it has to do with joy in the job, right? Finding success, being empowered, being celebrated, being heard and seen, have all been things that, in my experience, doesn't replace money, but it does have a lot of weight. And I think just recognizing the incredible work that teachers do on a day in and day out basis, people don't know. And I'm going to go back to your question or your statement about 2020. There was never more love for teachers than there was during COVID, because holy cow, how are you able to hold this together and be on 5 hours a day for kids? Like, it's incredible. So I think really pressing into the incredible work and the talent that you have here, celebrating them. One of the questions in the community group, we had a group of teachers there, and they had talked about having some teacher voice, right, in terms of initiatives that are going on in the district. In all of my principalships, I've tried my best to position myself as an equal in terms of how do we move together, right? And then how do I leverage my role to be able to stamp it or whatever you need to do in order to move things forward. And I would say, I think that's, for me, one way you do it, validating what teachers are doing, celebrating their work, but also positioning them to have some role in the work that it is that they're doing, and allowing and celebrating innovation too, right? There's a wealth of knowledge in all of our schools that we haven't necessarily tapped into. I would try to tap into that and create excitement around what the work is, because I'm telling you, the work is exciting and it's incredible. The other side of that is we talked about being fiscally responsible, right? I'm unsure what the contract language looks like, but trying to also be able to support them there as best you can between salary and benefits and other pieces as well. So those are kind of off the cuff, a couple things that I have found in my experience working with teachers that has really provided them a sense of ownership and pride, but also validates and values them. Yeah. You're welcome.
Well, once again, thank you very much for being here tonight. We do appreciate it. We appreciate your interest in the position as well, and thank you again for coming.
Thank you guys so much. You have an incredible district, and I'd be privileged and blessed to be your superintendent. Really, I would. I've appreciated getting to know you a little bit and being able to share a little bit about who I am. Hopefully in the 2 hours, you've been able to catch a glimpse of what that is. So thank you so much.